Alright, so I don't know if this was in the last episode, but Nyan just got a bunch of badges, dude. That's pretty dope, man. Good luck with those. So we'll be hopefully seeing some cool stuff pretty soon in the chat. So yeah, I went on a trip to Washington. Seattle, Washington. But my doctor was basically telling me, it's like, here, I'm gonna give you a back brace, alright? I want you to wear this back brace, and anytime you're sitting, and hopefully that'll keep your back in the correct position. I'm like, okay, and he goes, I'm also gonna prescribe you, or I'm gonna tell you to go to physical therapy. So he directed me to the physical therapy part of the hospital, I guess? I don't know what else you would call it. The hospital seems like a really strong term. Gotta love these lighting glitches. I feel like, is there a button for this? Well, reloading the chunk? No, reloading the chunks doesn't do anything. We get one of those Mongoose badges. Was I trying to give Chopper one? I'm on my legit character. Was I supposed to give him one? Was that from the trivia thing? We did a whole trivia thing earlier in the day during the stream, so I don't know if he was one of the winners or not. I don't remember. So I didn't reply that to him. Whatever. Doesn't matter. Good luck, Chopper. Hope you get one of those Mongoose badges. Anyways, my doctor sent me to physical therapy, and the physical therapist basically gave me a bunch of stretches and kind of like tweaked me up a bit to get me going again. I was like, all right, you know, it felt good at the time, and I went home feeling better at the time, but it didn't really fix anything. But I went to Washington. I had a great time. I got a bunch of footage from Washington. Hopefully, future Dwight is playing that footage from Washington right now. I've never seen a state that's more green than Washington. Washington in general, not even just Seattle. Like, Seattle's great, but just Washington in itself is just a beautiful, beautiful state. And that zombie killed himself. What a turkey. Aha! Hello, friends. Now, there was so much green in there, and everywhere you went, too, you could see, I believe it was Mount Rainier, I think is the big mountain that's in Seattle. Also, there was coffee shops everywhere. There was also marijuana shops everywhere. I was blown away at the amount of those shops that were everywhere, and how nice they looked, too. Like, it wasn't just some, like, run-down little, hobble place in the corner stuck behind a different smoke shop or anything like that. It was like a nice looking building with like a nice sign, and I didn't go in any of them because that's just not something I've ever done, and even though it's illegal in that state, and it's now legal in California, honestly, recreationally, it's just never been something that I've been into. But there's a ton of them over there. Like, Seattle's always been kind of known as like the coffee place, right? Which is why I was super excited to go. There's just coffee everywhere and stuff like that. Just as many marijuana places. But anyways, level 15 quest. Hey, there we go. See? I just had to get the 31. That's how those quests work. So when you complete one of these quests, and see, this is a repeatable too, so I can do this one again in a week. So now I'm going to choose the level 31, so I got to get another level as well. I guess I could have been mining all this coal for a level, but, you know, it's not that big of a deal. I'm just trying to get myself a decent amount for when I stop. And, so, yeah, we went to Washington because we were filming basically like a promo video for Taiwan. I don't think I mentioned that. This whole thing, like the big trip that was coming up in May, was a trip to Taiwan. It was going to be, I think, 10 days in Taiwan, where modders from computer modders were invited from all over the world to come compete in the InWin competition. So InWin is a manufacturer for computer cases and stuff, and they invited a bunch of world-class modders from all around the world. We had two different teams from America. I believe only 2 teams from America. Could have been more. I don't know if Richard and Travis went, but I know Bob and Rod went, Lee and Ron, who went repping Team Mongoose. Their team was called Team Mongoose over there. And maybe Travis and Richard went. I'm not sure. But a crew from Japan went. There was a couple from Australia. There's people from all over the place. I think there was a crew from the UK. But all this stuff happened. And so we were like, okay, well, we need to film like little blurbs. Because we were trying to build like hype videos and stuff like that where people can watch them. It's like we're trying to build this whole event into a big deal. Because NVIDIA is one of the sponsors, and it's just, it's one of those things. It's like if I was holding a competition at the end of the month, I'd be making stuff to kind of like let you guys know and kind of like drive up suspense and all that stuff to kind of make it a better event. So we flew to Washington. It was a very small cruise. It was just me and a cameraman, Dave, which if you guys have ever seen me tweet out a picture of some dude standing behind a fancy camera, waving, got like a beard on him, that's Dave. Great dude. Fantastic cameraman and just producer in general. Like the dude is just a filmmaking genius. He's got a great eye for the thing, and he's been in the business for years. I found out on that trip, he actually, I think he said I think it was a PA, a production assistant, on a movie I'm forgetting the name of, Nightmare Before Christmas. He was a PA on that. So he's met like Tim Burton and went out to dinner with him and all this other stuff. And he was telling me about like the way that they would film stuff and like how filming time-lapse stuff, like stop motion things back then, was a big like production. Oh, hey, there's a witch's hut over there. Let's go check it out. Like down to like it was such a problem too that it got to a point where they were using military-grade cameras to take the pictures of for the movie, and like setting the lights up and everything. Actually, I move fast in the water anyways. What am I talking about? Like a dolphin. It was so difficult to keep lighting correct in those situations because old school light bulbs, if it burnt out and you put a new light bulb in and it was kind of a different shade, or if it was a different temperature or something of that nature, that was a big problem. That just messed up the whole scene. So it was up to the production assistants to make sure that was all copacetic. Look at that witch. Bam! Oh, I missed. I missed. Man, did they lower the accuracy of bows? So he was telling me about all that stuff and about how Jack was actually pretty tall. He was like 2 feet tall. Hey, what up? I'll take that cauldron, thank you very much. And that coffee pot. Or just flower pot, I guess. I'm playing a lot of modded. I see stuff like that, I'm like, hey, it's a little coffee pot. Not a coffee pot. And take a couple of pads too. Anyways, really cool. He's also worked on a bunch of other stuff. He's worked on Pirates of the Caribbean and a bunch of other projects and stuff like that. The dude is legit. And we were talking about that right before we went on this giant ferry that takes you across whatever lake is in Washington. Like a big old expanse of area where you can take a ferry across. You can drive it around too at about the same speed. But the ferry was pretty cool. I gotta admit, it was also really fast. Like, seeing those things from a distance, you don't realize kind of how fast big boats move, because you don't really have a frame of reference from the land when you're watching a big boat go around. But this guy was flying, and so we took the ferry. It was really cool. I really enjoyed it. I think I have some footage of that too, if I'm not already playing it. And there was houses along the sides of that lake area that were beautiful. It's like one of those types of houses where they're not built super close to each other, so everybody has like a very nice yard and a nice scenery and stuff like that. It seemed like a house that you would buy if you retired like a multi-millionaire. Like, these houses were just so cool. And I'm at a point in my life where I'm looking at houses and I'm like, man, that is a nice house. And you start to kind of fantasize living there, you know? Beforehand, it'd be like, hey, that's a cool house, and you move on with your life. Now I'm just like, oh man, could you imagine? Like, that's cool. And then, you know, then you start having that like imaginary argument with yourself. It's like, yeah, but you know, I've had property taxes like crazy and like super expensive to insure it or whatever, because you want to insure it. You're like right on the edge of the water and whatever. I was having these awful conversations with myself about real life stuff on this ferry. And anyways, we were going to a place in Washington called Union, I believe, which is where Bob and Rod live. They live in Union, Washington. It's like right above the border of Oregon. It's south of Seattle. I remember that much. And so we were going to Bob's shop where he modifies all of his computers and stuff like that, which he no longer has. You know, he sold the house, so that's kind of a major issue with preserving that sort of thing. Anyways, he had a really cool shop full of their previous mods. Bob has a very good eye for paint. He knows how to paint things well and how to paint them correctly. So he had a paint booth. Oh, I see some zombies over there. Let's go over there. So he was showing off his paint booth. Oh, sniper duel. Oh, I shut the... Oh, whoa! How did you do that? We were filming stuff there, basically like, what do you expect to see in Taiwan? You know, like, what are you excited about? What do you want to do most? Like, do you guys have a plan? Do you think you're gonna win? And just all of this stuff. And it was supposed to play as kind of like B-roll shots or whatever during the competition. So during a lull of the competition, because they'd have 24 hours over the course of 3 days, I believe. So they got 8 hours a day to work on this stuff. I think that works out. That math works out. So they had 24 hours across 3 days for all this stuff. This was about a month before the Taiwan trip. And so we shot all of that stuff, and then we hung out with them, and then they're like, hey, let's give you kind of a tour of our town. We'll show you a couple of like really pretty like scenic shots of Washington and stuff like that here. So we drove around for a little bit and found this really cool mountain ridge that you can look over and see like the transitions of different forests and stuff like that. Kind of like how when you look at Minecraft, there's a bunch of biomes all stacked together. It's the same deal out there, but it's on a much larger scale, obviously. It's not like you walk 6 feet and you're in the desert or anything like that. It's like you see one row of types of like fir trees out there, and then you'll see like a whole other forest of like a different type of tree, and then you'll see like a plains area, and then there's like foothills and a mountain and a whole bunch of stuff. I'm not moving because I'm doing a lot with my hands right now. I'm sure that kind of translates in the mic. I was taken away at the shots that we were I say shots because I remember filming it, but of the view of this place. I had to just sit there and just stare out there and just kind of try to process what I was taking in. And it was so beautiful. I can't really talk about it because it's like I could talk about it all day. you know, I can just keep saying the words, it's pretty, it's super beautiful and all this stuff. But to be there and actually experience it is, man, I am bad. It's just another level. I can't really explain that, but people who have been to places like that understand where I'm coming from. You understand that, like, how nature can really take you back. Because I grew up camping, I grew up hiking and riding dirt bikes and quads and hunting and all that stuff in the woods. So I grew up in the woods. So I've been around that stuff where I've been across like a mountain ridge or something like that, and you stop and you just look out and you're just like, damn, that's dope. That's 9-year-old me out there with my grandpa, just be like, yo, grandpa, this shit is dope. You seeing this? And just being taken back by nature and how beautiful it can be. But across this ridge, when we were looking out, we had a direct shot of Mount Washington. And Bob was telling me that it looks, or they call it Mount Washington because it's kind of like a profile shot of Washington's head laying down backwards. I don't know how true that is, but I was like, yeah, I mean, I guess I could kind of see it. I mean, if you kind of stretch your imagination a bit, he could have been messing with me at the time. I don't know. Maybe people that live in Washington that watch this can let me know. But it was just a great shot of Mount Washington, and all of us kind of just stopped and took our time looking out over these mountains and everything like that. Like Dave set up his tripod and his camera, and he just stepped back and just took it in himself. You know, he was just taking his time, kind of just breathing in the really fresh air, because we're way past like the main city and stuff like that, and Washington just has way better air than California. Definitely better than LA. I don't live near LA. I live in about the middle of California, just about an hour and a half east out of San Francisco, and it was just an insane feeling to be out there. I'm talking about this view forever. You guys can tell that it's impacted me. It's left a mark on my soul where I was just like, I have to come back to Washington. I have to experience this again, because it was just that fucking good. And I'm hoping, and as I'm talking about this, I'm showing all this footage because I really hope that you guys can at least get a glimpse of what I experienced that day. So anyways, we shot a bunch of stuff, and we had a couple of establishing shots of Washington, and we were basically done filming for the day. So we went out and got some of the best Mexican food I've ever had on the coast of one of the bigger lakes of Washington, which again, beautiful view. I think I even tweeted out that picture during that time. I wonder if I can even find that, but I should have all the pictures. And had just great Mexican food, had great company. It was great meeting Bob and Rod again. Those guys are fantastic people, salt of the earth. Just really nice fellows that were just giving us a very nice tour of Washington. Kind of like a locals tour, you know, not like a tourist tour. And so, yeah, we had Mexican food on the coast of that. And then the next day we were flying out, but we had a little bit of time earlier in the day to kind of do some touristy stuff. We wanted to go down to Pike Street, which if you guys don't know what Pike Street is in Seattle, it is a very famous street in Seattle where a lot of famous companies, including Starbucks, got their start. It's also at the very end where they do that whole fish thing. You guys ever seen them, like a shot of a marketplace, where like a bunch of crazy guys had these giant fish and they're like tossing them to each other and stuff like that. That's where that happens. But that happens crazy early in the morning, like 5 or 6 in the morning. We were kind of hoping to catch the tail end of it, so we left at like 8, I think. Way too busy down there. Couldn't find parking, so we just went up to the Starbucks roastery, which I found out about because the day before, I tweeted out a picture of one of the Starbucks in Seattle, and in the tweet, I think I said, would it be bad, or would it be ironic or something? I may have used the word ironic wrong there. I always forget. If I got Starbucks, or I think I said, would it be wrong if I got Starbucks while in Seattle? Because you can get Starbucks anywhere, but, you know, we were driving by one at the time, and I think I was just trying to make a funny joke, so I said that. Starbucks actually replied back to me and says, absolutely not. We got our start in Seattle, you know. Our very first Starbucks is on Pike Street, and our roastery is just 1 block up from there. And I was like, the fuck is a roastery? So I looked it up, and it's this crazy place filled with like crazy coffee machines and like giant roasters and just the crazy ways of brewing coffee. Like there was like a chemistry set there where someone was like boiling water with like a candle and like beakers, and it was going through a whole bunch of tubes and shit. It looked like the scene from Breaking Bad where that one dude was making coffee with all the crazy stuff.
That's a little pet project of mine. See, in my opinion, it's all about the quinic acid level.
And coffee was like flying through chutes above you and like all these tubes, and it's just a crazy place full of crazy things. And we got a, man, this forest is awesome, but it's going on forever. And there's a bunch of crazy, really cool coffee peripherals and different ways or different things that you could get for coffee. It was great. I mean, say all you want about Starbucks, but that place was really cool. And we got something called a flight of coffees. If you guys don't know what a flight is, it's usually used when talking about beers. Like you get a flight of beers. It's basically a sampler pack of a drink. Usually when you get it with beers, it's like, hey, try out all these local beers. But you could get a flight of coffee there. And so that's what we did. We got a flight of coffee, and we both tried all these amazing coffees there that you can only get there because it's part of the Starbucks Reserve or whatever. And you can only get it there. So I picked up a bag of something. I already forgot what it was, but it was delicious. It was so good. This last like 2 years, I've gotten really deep into coffee because it's like this whole scene that I didn't know existed, and about how there's ways to fuck it up. Just brewing, just making your coffee, you could have already messed up. Like you could have used too hot of water, you could have over extracted it, you could have under extracted it. You know, is it too bitter or too sweet? Is it not strong enough? Are you using a light roast or a dark roast? There's espresso beans and stuff like that. Are you grinding your own beans? How are you grinding your own beans? Are you using a burr grinder? Well, then you probably have inconsistent grinds. You have big chunks of coffee bean, and then you have tiny chunks, and then you have like powder all thrown in there. It's not consistent, so it's not going to brew consistent. How are you brewing your water? Like, or how are you boiling your water? How are you bringing it up to the right temperature? Are you keeping it at the right temperature? Are you between like 202 and 205 Fahrenheit? That's like 90 something and 90 something Celsius, somewhere around there. Like, there's all these different variables, and like, how long did you brew it? Was it a pour over? Was it a siphoned thing like my AeroPress? Was it in a French press? Oh God, guys, there's a whole world of coffee out there. I don't claim to be an expert. I'm just kind of enlightened about it. I'm just aware of all these different ways of experiencing it. And it's also the first time, I'm getting off on a tangent here talking about coffee. It's also the first time that I've had black coffee with no milk, with no sugar, no additives, no nothing. Straight up just black coffee, brewed and then drank it and loved it. Because I finally started understanding how to do that, how to make it correct. And that's all the stuff that's bad for you in coffee. Because what's coffee? Coffee is just water just pushed through beans. That's all that is. And same thing with tea. All tea is water through leaves. That's all tea is. So they're really, really similar. So tea is the same way. Like you can do all these mishaps with tea as well. Anyways, had a great time in Seattle, and apparently we went during the 3 days that Seattle gets of sunshine. So we literally went during the 3 days out of the year where they had great weather, because it didn't rain on us at all. It was a little foggy and a little misty like one morning, but other than that, it was beautiful. Both Bob and Rod were telling me that, listen, you guys came at a great time of the year. Do not let it fool you, because Seattle rains like 80% of the year. When you have lived through rain for 60 days in a row, you will realize why people get so depressed living here, and why people who do live here end up hating it. And everybody's always like, oh, I love the rain though. I love the rain. I don't think that you would love the rain if it became your entire life. I think that you might like rain if it happened more often. You're basically talking about Northern California, like that very stuff past Sacramento, like Eureka and Chico and those types of areas up in Northern California, where you get more rain, but you also get a good amount of sunshine, so you can appreciate the rain. But Seattle can be nuts. But I was really happy to be there during the 3 days that, that it was sunny. Unfortunately, when I got back from Washington, I went through Washington in pain. I brought painkillers and stuff like that. It was just, I think at the time I was taking ibuprofen. I later realized that Aleve actually works way better for this sort of pain. But I was taking ibuprofen, and I was taking gabapentin, which was given to me by my doctor. And I made it through with pain, even still, through Seattle and everything like that, and I came back just fine. Well, relatively just speaking, in retrospect, I came back just fine, because it wasn't even a week after that where things got really bad, which I will talk about in the next episode, because we are past our mark, and we need to move on. So thanks again, everybody, for watching. I mean, I know that the first episode was kind of me hanging out in the spawn, and this one was just me running around aimlessly. But I know when we find a cool area, it's going to stick out. I mean, there's some really cool generation and stuff around here. But I don't know if I want that. I don't know if I want that or not. So we're going to keep cruising. Hopefully you guys don't mind. I know I usually take the time for these like single player stuff, which isn't really single player. We're multiplayer right now. To kind of just talk to you guys, be real with you. So that's what I want to do. I want to catch you guys up, because I had an awful back half of 2016. And here's a village over there. And I want to bring you guys along with the story. And you guys can ignore this episode. I'll name them. That way, if you guys want to avoid the rest of these, you can. But I'll name them like my 2016. I'll name them that. So we'll have my 2016 part 1. This is part 2. We're about to go into part 3. I'll catch you guys later. If you're new to the channel and you're liking this whole like personable thing that I'm doing here and you're not subscribed, I do appreciate you guys subscribing. I do appreciate every like and comment. It lets me know that you guys are still engaged in the videos, and I want to bring the engagement back. It's a two-way street. Because you guys give me some to give you some, and you guys want me to give you some, so you gotta give me some. All right. I'll catch you guys for the next one.